to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On behalf of Commissioner Shorey and Commissioner Johnson, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. And at this point, we will turn it over to the chair of the Budget Committee.
Call this meeting to order. Carrie, you had something that you would like to address before we get started.
Yes, so I want to apologize. I was going over all of the documentation before the meeting and I spent a handful of hours and realized that the bottom line and the percentage was incorrect. The county budget is correct. The jail budget was incorrect. I needed to deduct the state revenue we received. So if you could tear off your draft percentage sheet, hand it to me. I'm going to hand you a couple of corrected sheets. You want to take one and pass it down?
And she clearly marked it that this is the corrected draft. Remember when I spoke before about the revenue that came in from the state for the jail? And it was my error that I didn't add it in correctly. And Carrie has gone back since 2007 and checked our numbers. Carrie, do we have those also?
I'm gonna get those.
Okay,
Is the highest the corrected one?
no. Get rid of that top sheet.
So we're actually showing an 8.55 instead of a 9.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And so the second page that I've sent you, oh, not that one. Not that one. So the second page I sent you, it shows where you started with your budget, the state jail income, what we reduced on the TAN from our original request, and then all your other deductions. So you have made a change into our budget at 10.10%.
Mhm.
You don't have this. I don't.
That what I just gave you now.
Good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
Folks in the audience, while the Budget Committee is getting this paperwork, there's a clipboard. If you could all make sure to please sign in and who you were with, please. Thank you.
And if anybody out there would like a corrected draft for the papers that are out there, I'm just going to set them right there.
Mary, if you could just quickly, when Mary has a second, explain to her what we just completely just wanted out.
Yes, so I had gone down through everything.
Yep.
And I noticed that the jail line was incorrect.
Okay.
It was inconsistent, so I went back a while. And I noticed that the jail income that we received from the state of Maine was never deducted from this. So I had to correct 23 and I had to correct 2024.
Okay.
So this is the new corrected. And then here. This shows where your budget began.
Yes.
This shows the jail income, the TAN, overall deductions. So your difference in change is 10.10%. Thank you. You're welcome.
Everybody set?
Oh, well, they're not even doing them.
Has everyone been following along on emails on Waldo County Soil and Water? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you're all up to speed on that. All right. Good crowd. Got a couple of questions for you guys. How many of you guys here are in representation of Waldo County Soil? How many of you who are would like to speak? Okay. How many people are here who would like to speak about some subject? Some subject other than Waldo County Soil and Water? Okay. Just trying to get a feel for. Let's, shall we go down through them as they're listed and deal with Waldo County when we get there? Soil and Water? Hmm? Yeah, we got approved. Everybody had a chance to read over the minutes?
Yes, and I have a correction, a typo correction. There were several. I found out. Thanks, Robin, very much for going through those.
I might not have gotten the one right. That was page 4.
Page 4, oh, did I spell your name? I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, I missed that.
Okay, I will fix your name in that. I apologize. Morpieir.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right,
Okay.
that's my.
I am so sorry. That's okay. Was correct everywhere else.
I would like to request that everybody speak fairly loud because I'm not able to hear today.
Promotion on the minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as written with the modifications, page 4 and grammatical errors, but it is appreciated for the town, so thank you.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that we accept the minutes as written with a couple of corrections that have already been listed. Any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Okay, so again, I'm gonna come back. Do we want to go through the budget and deal with Waldo County Soil and Water when we get to it, or do we want to talk about them first? All right, let's see. We've given all the information that has come. I would be open to a motion that we go back and review the funding request for Waldo County Soil.
Motion that we go back and review funding for Waldo County Soil.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded that we go back and review the funding for Waldo County Soil.
So are you under discussion now?
Yeah.
All right. So I don't mind going back and relooking at it. However, if we make one motion to start jumping and skipping around, you gotta do it for everybody. So I'm not looking to stop the process of looking at it again. It's just, I just want to throw it out there that if you start moving around for one, you do need to move around for all and give everybody that opportunity.
In this case, this was a drastic cut for them, and I don't think that's necessarily true.
Well-
Because this was pretty drastic.
I think that that's a matter of perception, because if you look at all of the departments, everybody got a cut
And there was actually 5 different times where we had tried to make motions and pass them on some sort of budget before that became a yes or no.
Mr. Chair,
Amy?
just, not so much a point of order, but, in following with, how our public hearing and our budget hearing goes. And I appreciate all of this, and there will be time for the discussions, but generally, according to the agenda and historically, the public is here to speak, and they have that right and privilege to speak. Whether you wish to time it or whatever, it is their opportunity to speak, and generally, it's not a deliberating time with the public and you folks. So I would recommend that you continue with the process of the public hearing, let them speak, and then from there, we close the public hearing. And at that point, sir, you go through each of the budgets where you can address and make any additions or subtractions.
See, I actually like that idea better because then everybody's speaking, but you want to stay in chronological order and maintain that order, or else you're going to be jumping everywhere.
Yep, there's no problem. I don't have any problem with that. We already have a motion on the floor.
Based on the number of people who raised their hand totally that would like to speak, I think we need to set a time limit on each person.
I agree with that.
I have a timer.
We have multiple timers here. And we have somebody with a hook in the back of the room. While you away.
You got them 2 times too.
Is there any more discussion on the motion that we have in front of us? Which is that we're gonna look back at funding them when we get there.
The motion was
Oh, I
that
thought
we
the
would
motion
take
was
it
to
up
move,
first.
yeah, the motion was to move them forward and have a conversation with them.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry, forget it.
So let's move to vote, call the vote.
Yeah, I'll call for the vote.
You actually did.
Okay.
You
all Alright.
voted unanimously.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, it's opposed, so we'll be open to public discussion right now, I guess. So we have an hour.
Please do not fight to come up and talk with us.
Mary wanted to set a time. There wasn't any
There
discussion
ought to
about
be a
that.
time limit on each person's length of time to speak.
Harry, do you want 5 minutes? What is your?
5 would be my max.
All right, 5 minutes.
Who'd like to go first, Ron?
And please, when you speak, if you would stand, identify yourself and speak very clearly.
Okay.
And loudly, please.
My name's Ron DeRosier. I'm a resident and taxpayer of the town of Unity. And first off, I wanted to thank the commissioners and the budget committee and all the people that are in attendance, because this is government at work, and there's a lot of people who are taking time out of their day to be here. I'm here specifically to speak on behalf of the Waldo County Soil and Water Conservation District, and we get zeroed out. And I did watch the video, and I saw the process. And I know firsthand, and I've written a letter on behalf, hopefully most of you have gotten it or will have the chance to review it. I've seen firsthand the good work that the district does. And I know in a video hearing, there was some mention of work being solely focused in Unity and Belfast. And when you have a volunteer board, you really, and I'm assuming that all of you have been part of the volunteer board. And it's always good to go where there's already some energy, and there's people willing to roll up their sleeves alongside the work that you're doing. I've brought an idea once to a volunteer board, and the chair of the board said, "Ron, are you here to bring us a problem, or are you here to bring us a solution?" And I said, "I'm here willing to roll up my sleeves alongside you folks to get the job done that needs to be done." Well, when the district decides where they're gonna put their energy, it's prudent when you have finite capacity. You can't deliver services equally to every citizen in the county. You've got to prioritize what are the most important issues. And then where is their energy to help carry this problem forward to do the good work that needs to be done. And I'll just point out one example, because I know we have a time limit and want to cut to the chase. As a resident of the town of Unity, we all know the work the district has done in the Unity Watershed Association. Well, I'm not a lakefront owner, and I don't own any shorefront property, but the water quality of Unity Pond is directly tied to my property tax, right? The higher value water quality in Unity Pond, the more people want to live there and the more they're willing to pay for properties in the town of Unity, because it's a quality of life issue. And you know, in a state where so many of our industry is based on natural resources, I think that that's an important thing to consider. And a lot of times, the work of the district flies under the radar. You know, you don't always see the good work that's happening. But I just offer that one example. In Unity, the Watershed Association with the district's support and sleeves rolled up in action has focused on like failing septic systems, knowing that's part of the problem. Well, the Lake Association has some funding in place that helps people to upgrade septic systems. And who are the people on the ground that are moving that initiative forward? Well, I can't say the district's the only one, because there's other people with their sleeves rolled up, right? But as a resident of the town of Unity, I benefit if the lake water quality improves. So I don't know how much time I've used, but I just wanted to make one succinct point. I see a lot of familiar faces here, and again, I thank you all for being here, because this is government and citizens in action. Tom, thank you. Great chair.
Thank you, sir.
Somebody else?
My name is Susan Connor, and I am Vice President of the
Can
Belfast
you
Garden
speak
Club.
louder?
Sorry, Betty. I'm the Vice President of the Belfast Garden Club, and I'm accompanied by our current president and one of our past presidents. And I want to talk both to the Waldo County Soil and Water and the Waldo County Extension budgets, and I'll sort of combine them a little bit because they have a lot of overlap in activities. The forests, farms, and public and private gardens of Waldo County are an essential part of our lives and even of livelihoods of many people in the county. I live in Northport, by the way. I'm not a Belfast resident. We all rely on the services of Waldo County Extension and Soil and Water to help us keep these environments healthy and beautiful. If anything, their programs are even more important as we learn how to adapt to changing climate and to the pests, diseases, and invasive species and changes of weather patterns that it brings. Both provide excellent educational programs. The Belfast Garden Club relies on people from both organizations to provide our educational programs for the community. And they both provide good guidance, advice, and education to farmers and gardeners throughout the county. They also conduct research that helps us to improve the management of our gardens and our farms. And I think that's critically important. And I just wanted to give a few examples of some of their activities that are important to the Garden Club and to me personally. One is the Master Gardener Program with Extension, which turns gardeners into experts who give back to the community. Another is the Pollinator Garden Program, which I guess is joint between Waldo County Soil and Water and Extension, I'm not sure. But I personally have a certified pollinator garden, and improving pollinators is really important to maintaining our vegetable crops and other kinds of ecosystem health. Another example is, well, also the Pollinator Garden Certification Program encourages use of natives to help rebuild our gardens and rebuild our forests and fields. And these Waldo County Soil and Water has had an annual plant sale where they provide native plants that are adapted more to future climates than to present climates, so that gardeners can start transitioning their gardens. So that's another important program. With Extension, soil testing helps farmers and gardeners improve our soils and the productivity of our gardens and farms. Pest and plant ID services also help all of us. when I've got a strange pest in my garden, I can take a picture and send it up to Extension and they'll tell me what it is and tell me how to control it. So that's important. Let's see what I left out. Oh, I also wanted to mention the research program that Waldo County Soil and Water has been involved in, that's looking at adaptability of species that are currently outside of the range here for planting in future climate and present climate as we begin to transition a lot of our planning programs to things that are more adapted to climate. So I think that especially with climate change, where we're all dealing with changing environments, it's really critical to maintain the services of both of these organizations. And I just think that Waldo County Extension and Soil and Water are both here to help us. And I urge you to support them so they can continue to do that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Someone else? You bet. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Gene Randall. I'm the treasurer of Waldo County Soil and Water. I believe you all have seen the letter from our chair, and I have a few follow-up comments that I want to make, and it's perfect timing because it's going to take me 5 minutes to read this. In the last meeting, it wasn't our intent to leave the impression that Waldo County Soil and Water wasn't willing to work with the county budget committee. When we came here, we were coming to support our request for the rate increase, only because we see a huge opportunity out in the field to expand offers to farmers, free lot owners, and residents for federal money that's out there from the new programs that the federal government has passed recently from the Income Reduction Act. Thank you. We really didn't grasp immediately that the county needed to make a large budgeting decrease or large budget cut, and that we were asked to accept less than full funding. Our mindset was that we had an opportunity to expand our services. Our partnership with Orange County, with Waldo County, began 80 years ago in 1944, shortly after the federal government created a conservation district concept in response to the loss of topsoil in the Dust Bowl. I'm sure you all heard this story. Currently, there are over 3,000 conservation districts in the United States that work with landowners, conserve and promote healthy soils, clean water, healthy forests, and preserve natural resources. The soil and water conservation districts have national and state organizations that help us all stay current with technology and best practices, and we constantly share new ideas with each other. The soil and water conservation districts have evolved from the Dust Bowl era and have adapted to dealing with new threats of invasive species, plants, animals, soil erosion, and new threats to native plants and trees due to climate change. Thank you for your comments, Ron, and so forth, because this ties directly. I'm not the only one. When I asked if we would settle for less or no funding, it was my silence at that point was based on the disbelief that the county could consider walking away from an 8-year partnership with the Soil and Water Conservation District. At the same time, federal spending has increased, and we see a big opportunity to expand services. We're also concerned with the funding cut to Waldo County was made on some assumptions that we simply don't agree with. First, Waldo County Soil and Water is not a failed business because of an income loss in 1 year. The reality is that Waldo County Soil and Water uses the cash method of accounting. And when projects run for more than 1 year, like the 2-year Unity Pond grant, there are timing differences between when we receive funding and when we pay expenses. In 2022,
because of this timing difference, we did record a loss of $1,500. However, in 2021, because of these in timing differences between funding and expense payments, we actually made a profit of $20,000. So with that in mind, we want to point out very clearly that we're not making too much money, but we are breaking even basically on a 5-year, previous 5 years, we did break even, which shows that we are converting all of our funding into provision resources and services. Another assumption was that Waldo County is redundant with other available services and no longer needed. Again, the reality is that Waldo County Soil and Water is in a unique position to be able to offer a wide array of services as evidenced by the diversity of the Union Pond Management Grant, which is clean water, and the Belfast City Park Canopy Grant, which is basically diversity and reforestation. These additionally, Waldo County works with the landowners on best land management practices, and we serve as a clearinghouse for information because of our partners with the federal government and the state government.
Time.
Is my time?
Yeah.
You know what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
One final statement, we sincerely hope you will reconsider our decision, your decision, and the loss of funding for us will prevent us from rehiring our vacant position for technical, which is our on the ground contact person. And without that, we have to severely limit our resources. We might ask that if that happens, you have a plan in place, take the calls that we can handle. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Judy.
Someone else?
My name is Debbie Smith. I'm a Belfast resident and I have a small proprietorship of Debbie Smith Garden. And I'd like to speak in support of both the Waldo County Soil and Water Conservation District and the Waldo County Cooperative Exchange. I'm alarmed and profoundly dismayed at the Budget Committee's plans to reduce funding for both of them and to eliminate it entirely for the Conservation District. These organizations have been vital, essential resources for Waldo County, a county which is strongly rural, agricultural, and rich in natural resources. Their presence and participation in programming and education have been essential, really. And in particular for me, it's been helpful for land management and dealing with invasive species. So it's been essential for addressing climate, environmental, and invasive issues. So I urge you to reconsider your funding for these organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie.
Hi, my name is Drew Laughlin. I'm a supervisor with the Waldo County Soil and Water Conservation District and a resident of Belfast. I support, everything everybody has said, clarifying our desires and goals. I wanted to bring up the sort of, I was a government officer for many years, and it seemed to me strange that the Budget Committee could terminate a program that the County Council had supported, where in their proposed budget, we were fully funded. And the Budget Committee basically cut off the program. As a budget analyst, I work for the governor's office, and we could not zero fund a legislative program. So I was curious about that. And I was also curious about the causes for the need for the drastic, such drastic action. And I noted in the budget that the interest on the tax anticipation note has gone from 17, 19,000 in 22 and 3 up to a proposed amount of 309,000. And I wanted to understand you know, what has changed that there's such a drastic change in interest on the tax anticipation note. Thank you for your consideration.
Anybody else?
My name is Pat Blakesley, and I'm a resident of Belfast and a member of the Waldo County Extension Association. And I'm relatively new to this whole process, so like Drew, I want to understand why this is happening, because as a member of the executive committee of extension, we can't really be very useful to the institution we serve if we don't understand how these things happen. The Maine cooperative extension system has proudly served the public in Maine for more than a century, with support from federal, state, county, and private resources. Waldo County's contribution to extension enhances the university's ability to secure federal and private funds to offset the cost of programs and services both locally and statewide. And reducing resources to the county has a much larger effect. But I also realize that the county's been a very understanding partner with Waldo County Extension in the past. In fact, last year, they raised the budget by 16%, and then this year, they cut it by more than that. And I want to understand why that happened, because as a member of the guiding body for budget, it's really hard to understand. So thanks for your consideration. And I really do hope that you understand that when you make cuts of this kind, we're not talking about paper clips and postage. We're talking about people and services. And we have a very small staff that has been very taxed, especially during the pandemic, because of loss of a senior position that just recently got filled with a part-time person. And I just feel like these young people who are running this place are stretched to the limits already. And it's important for us to understand as we move forward what we need to do to help you understand the process, our process, and us understand your process. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Pat.
Good morning, everyone. I'm probably a new face to many of you. I just started with cooperative extension here in September in Waldo County. My name is Brett Johnson, and I'm the Sustainable Agriculture and Farm Business Management Educator for Waldo County. And so today I just wanted to sort of separate my comments into two areas. First, I wanted to give you all a little bit more of an idea of what, especially the commercial agriculture related programming in Waldo County is all about, how we determine the priorities that we set at the county level. And this is something that occurs across cooperative extension, not only in the state of Maine, but in other states as well. As some of you may know, cooperative extension is a nationwide organization that works along with our land grant universities to put research into to take research and make it actionable in the lives of our citizens and the people in our communities all across the nation. And so the first thing that I'd like to discuss, and this kind of gets to, I think, what sometimes might not be very clear to the public when if you haven't interacted with cooperative extension very often. But we engage in what's called a needs assessment process. And so the different aspects that come along with a needs assessment have to do with us looking at data. So looking at research that's been done through like the National Ag Census. So we look at, what does the agricultural economy in our county look like? So what are the major industries that farmers are engaged in enterprises within? What are the size of our farms in the county? What sort of income on average are these farms producing? We take that information and then we work with farmers who come into our office on a regular basis and have questions for us. And in that process, we take in information and we learn. And so we tailor the specific programs that we provide to the needs as we see them in our county, in the communities that we serve. We take kind of this data and also that individual perspective. We accumulate all that information, and then we try to make targeted kind of interventions in the lives of these farmers to show them sort of market opportunities maybe that they weren't aware of. In my case, because I'm a farm business management educator, I think a lot about how diverse the ag economy is in Waldo County, and how unlike some areas like up in Aroostook where potatoes are, a major engine of their economy, or down East Maine where it's blueberries. In Waldo County, we have a very diverse agricultural economy, and a lot of these producers depend a lot on maximizing the value per unit that they produce. So instead of selling into larger commodity markets, they're really trying to capture as much of that value because they operate on smaller acreages. Maybe they're engaged in 5 or 6 different enterprises rather than just one. So it's all of those things, that guide our decisions. And my second piece that I want to get to and try to make a point in my 5 minutes is, in the short amount of time that I've been with Waldo County Cooperative Extension, just since September, in participating in several of these hearings since that time, I've noticed that I think that there has maybe been a little bit of a breakdown in communication in terms of like cooperative extension doing the best that we can do to communicate to the public our value. And I just want to reassure you all today that internally we are taking several steps to try to improve that communication so that we have more farmers coming through our door, because that's how I do my job effectively. And the last point I want to make is the ramifications of this budget cut have more to do with us having less capacity in the office. Because of the nature of my job and Benia's job and Melanie's job, we are program providers. And so we have to be out in the community, giving programs, doing farm visits, doing garden visits, doing home visits. We can't be relied upon to be in the office answering the phone Monday through Friday. So,
Time.
okay, yeah. So that's the major implication, is that losing this funding will mean less of a capacity for us to serve the public from that office specifically. That doesn't mean that we aren't doing our programming, but it's less capacity for our administrative specialists to deal with questions Monday through Friday. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Brett.
Yes.
I'm Andy Reed, and I'm chair of the Waldo County Soil and Water Conservation District. I decided not to speak today and let Jean take care of it, but I'm going to speak. Okay. I've been there for almost 25 years. Before that, I was there when I was at college as associate supervisor. I'm president of the Maine Association Conservation District. We requested at our annual meeting a year ago to see what all the districts wanted. They needed more funds from the state to take and bring on more people so they could do more outreach for the counties that they were, and we get 16 counties, okay? Our cut for the Waldo County Solar Conservation is gonna completely eliminate someone being out there in the community working to help the people. We talked about Belfast, okay? They came to us and said, we give you a canopy grant. All right, so our technical director took care of that. We had a meeting in Bangor, on the, committee, the NRCS, technical committee. And there was 2 lakes that they were gonna give funding to. One north of Bangor, one south of Bangor. I've lived on Unity Pond, I've lived in Unity all my life, except my service connection. I talked to Tom Gordon, which works for the state now. I nudged him, I said, what about Unity Pond? He brought up Unity Pond, and Ron Hernandez says that's a great thing to do. We got over $1 million from the government to work in the watershed. Watershed consists of Montville, Freedom, Thorndike, Knox, Unity, Burnham, Troy. Okay, so it was a whole encompass. And out of that, the Lake Association, which I was on, and said, now is the time to get a management plan. They hired a consultant. The consultant wrote up a grant request for the DEP, EPA. We got $40-something thousand. The Waldo County Solar Audit Conservation sponsored that. The work that was done through a consultant, okay? And we worked closely with the consultant and the whole Lake Association. We did Stream Smart, we did Lake Smart, which is looking at all the lake properties, all the erosion going into the lake. We combined that, looked at it, so we know, we can pinpoint where we should do our work and where the lake should do the work. That's a 10-year project that had to be done prior to the Lake Association even applying for a grant. So, I mean, you say, some people say, right now is the NRCS is looking at the Sheepscot Lake, all right? If they've got a Lake Association in Sheepscot that comes and wants to do the same thing we did in Unity, we're there to help. But not getting the funding is basically gonna cut us off from doing a lot of the work. We're paying enough for one person to stay in the office 20 hours a week. All I want to say. Okay, I appreciate it. Hope you consider. Thank you. We've been getting funding, I think, for 80 years. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'll stay right here. Yeah, I'll stay here. My name is Melanie Bryan. I am the program manager for Maine Families through the University of Maine Cooperative Extension. And I'm here today because I know the last meeting, there were some questions and specifically to Maine families and the value that we offer to Waldo County and specific towns. I have some infographics here that I have printed off some information about the population that we serve and the work that we do. And you can read through that whenever you feel like it. That is the data that backs up what I'm going to tell you, but I really wanted to speak to the program in specific here. 30 years ago, home visiting was started here in Waldo County in the Cooperative Extension building and became a huge success. And so what that means is that parents, teachers too, was our little tiny home visiting program 30 years ago. That grew under Pamela Hay to become a statewide program. And we did so well that we're actually looked to in our model, which is Parents as Teachers, nationally as someone who is a leading, we kind of lead our force in home visiting, I guess if you want to say. The work that we have done specifically here in Waldo County has propelled the nation forward for families. And so I know that a lot of people think of us as just serving children. That's our primary work. For prevention work, we help to support preventing child abuse and neglect. But we're bigger than that. We have a staff of 4. Everyone is bachelor's level educated or a master's level educated, and 2 of our staff are actually in school right now to become masters. So you'll have next year 4 master level educated home visitors in Waldo County. We are a federally funded program that receives support through the University of Maine Cooperative Extension and through the county because we're housed in the building that Cooperative Extension is in. And we also receive some support for the administrative staff. And so the administrative staff is what I think you're all looking to do with some of the budget cuts. And so I wanted to talk about specifically what that would do for us. We currently have 4 staff that are able to be in the field. And we're housed right in the county that we serve. That's not true across the state of Maine. For instance, Penobscot and Scadacus share an office. So the Scadacus doesn't have home visitors that are housed in their county. Androscoggin and Oxford, same thing. Kennebec and Somerset, same thing. They're sharing an office. Here in Waldo, the residents of Waldo are really supported by us because we're in the community that we're serving. This means that we can provide what's called a group connection. Sometimes that's a play group, sometimes that's an educational meeting or an educational forum where we can provide information on car seat safety, safe sleep, crying, developmental information, things like that. And so that's huge for residents. And the information that we share with our families goes out beyond just the family that we support. Sometimes there's Grammys in a visit. Sometimes there's neighbors in a visit. Sometimes they share that with the person down the street or the person at the grocery store that, did you hear about this? Or all that information. Now, these little people that we are directly serving are going to turn into you and I later on down the road, right? So when I look around this room, every single one of us was a child at some point, and we were blessed to have people in our lives that supported our development to be able to get us to sitting in this room right now. And that's not true necessarily today. And there are a lot of families that lack skill and lack support. And when we think about the value, we have a home visiting program through Cooperative Extension that has had 30 years of service here, physically here, that has made a national and an international impact on home visiting and families. And so that just kind of makes me think we're bigger than even just Waldo County, although we do serve Waldo County. And you can see in my infographics exactly those numbers, how many families we serve, how many developmental screenings we've done, how many children that we have caught delays in prior to their entering into kindergarten, how many opportunities we've allowed families, how many connections to services, all of those types of things. Really, you can just see there in the numbers. But I wanted you to understand the impact isn't just for children, it's for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melanie.
Anybody else that would like to speak?
Yeah. I'm Sarah Crosby. Some of you may know me. I was a principal for many years around here. And to follow up on what she said.
Could you
now-
speak up a bit, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Sarah Crosby, and was a school principal for many years in Belfast. And in my current job for Child Developmental Services, I visit homes and evaluate children for developmental disabilities, some of the same families that you may see. Right? All I want to say is you could do no better than to invest in family services and preventative services. And I'm talking about building infrastructure. The children I see are children of families who have the most difficulties in school, who may end up in the juvenile justice and adult incarceration system. We want to strengthen those families because they're our future and the future of the families. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Anybody else would like to speak?
I have a question. Is there any question? Okay, so like I said, I watched the video of the budget committee hearing. And I'm going to follow that thread of understanding, because as a engaged citizen, you really want to understand the process. Sometimes it doesn't always go the way you want, but you want to understand how it works. And it was a continued allusion to in the budget committee of a budget shortfall that couldn't be spoken to, and that the cuts that that extension was, subject to an soil and water conservation district and other folks coming up on a budget that they, it kept being said that there was some very significant impact to the budget that required these draconian measures. And, it never was mentioned what exactly that was. And so it left me as a viewer wondering, wow, what's happening that is requiring this, these cuts? And, so I did follow up with the finance director in the county commissioner's office, and I know it relates to TAN. And I got educated on that, how towns need to borrow money because if you're taxing the town of Prospect or something, those dollars don't appear on the day you send out the tax bill. So you have to borrow money. And I know it relates to the interest rate, but I think that worked out more favorably than it had thought. Is that not the case?
Can I speak?
I was gonna say, that's up to the chair if he'll allow you or I to speak.
Do you want to, Carrie? Go ahead.
So your TAN, as I mentioned to you on the phone, you spoke with me, Ron. So as I mentioned on the phone, getting a TAN and having a high interest is not beneficial. Because we're raising that money from taxation to pay back the money that we're borrowing, because that is our operating funds through the whole year. And I believe by state statute, we can't actually bill a town till a certain time frame. So the county is operating on funds that are not there. The county also cannot save funds or hold funds aside like a municipality can. So a municipality can have what's called undesignated funds or surplus. The county cannot have that. We are governed by statute to how much we are allowed to have. We're only allowed to have a certain percentage, unlike municipalities.
Okay, so you have to anticipate the interest that TAN is gonna cost you.
Yes.
And in the budget, you say, we project an interest rate of.
Correct. And so the advantage that we have had this year versus in last year was our TAN was done and we were still going through the budget process. So one of the hindrance that we had through this was, what is the interest going to be? And I think at the beginning stages of this, I did go to our bank and say, hey, if I got a TAN note today, what would our interest be? And at that time, they said 6.25%. Well, we all know interest fluctuates daily, monthly, weekly, whatever it may be. And so at that time, we were looking at almost $400,000 worth of interest. Now, I've seen documents that our interest, the county's interest in the past, has only been 0.5%, 1%. I think at one point it might have gotten up to 1.5, which is really low interest. We're looking at interest rates now. Last year was 4.9%. This year, we were able to, the bank made the bid and we accepted 5.18%, but another bank offered 6%, which if you start adding those, looking at those, that's a $60,000 difference. That's significant funds. So we look at all of that. We came in asking the budget committee for 500,000 because we had no idea where interest was going to. We fortunately was able to reduce that by looking at those bids that we got. And those have to go towards, that's a payment that we have to make, which goes towards the taxes that is divided amongst all the towns.
I add to that.
You're the budget committee.
Well, I've asked one.
Oh.
I'm your representative in Unity. To piggyback on what Gary's saying, because we work together, we used to deal with cans in Unity. And they used to be nasty. And, you know, on that much smaller level, we're just waiting for all of our people to pay taxes. So it's different, where the county is waiting for all 25 towns in one city to pay. So it's like they don't have a choice. They have to do a TAN because that's what they're operating on. Where we can become a little bit more outside of the box with our thinking and trying to, in our town has gratefully gotten out of the situation with TANs because that was a very nasty thing for us where we were paying a bunch of money to interest that we didn't need to. They don't have that luxury. So like, even though our town, which is a much smaller scale than the county commissioners, I mean, they're an $11 million business. We're a $2 million business, so we're a much smaller scale. They don't have the flexibility that we do in our town. So.
Amy?
Just to clarify, and thank you both very much, and Mr. DeRosa, thank you for your question. Historically in the past, and Drew, because of your question and your point, sadly enough, I have all my budgets going way back. Historically, in the past, the county has paid back in interest, starting in 2017, $13,640. 2018, we paid back 10, must have been a good year. 2019, it was 15,000. 2020, it was 25,000. 2021, it was 30. 2022, it was 22,000. 2023, remember, this is before it hit the fan. And we were feeling rather cocky, I guess. And we said 19,000, we can do it. And then we got the TAN note on January 1st, and the interest on the TAN note in 2023 that we had to pay back was 165,000. So I mean, yeah, two. And so automatically you come out of the gate and you're already in the red. So the county cannot tax or charge additional or above, like some towns or municipalities that can charge fees or what have you, we can't. The only way our budget is paid for is by you, the taxpayers. And see, no town, and I was a selectman, I've sat where you folks are. No town wants to give up their money any sooner than they have to because they're earning interest or they're waiting for people to pay their property taxes. So therefore, we have to get a tax anticipation note in January to continue to run and provide the services in which you receive. Very quickly, so I hope that answered your question, sir. And very quickly, I just also want to point out, if I may, Mr. Chair, with regards to the University of Maine Extension Cooperative, I almost feel like we're getting a little bashed here. And I just want to say, one, I've actually got a good education this morning on some stuff that I was not even remotely aware of. And second of all, please know, Waldo County, you folks own the building in which they're in. We charge no rent. We pay all the utilities, all the electricity, the oil, the internet, and everything else. And this past year, we've spent 118,000 above and beyond those regular expenses to update and fix up that building for them. So I just don't want you to think, I know you seemed a little upset, like we didn't
understand.
No, and certainly, and I can provide you with all of that information. I just want you to know that, I mean, we have always been more than supportive and do everything that we can.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
I'll just make a comment. We co with an NRCS and the Farm Service Agency in that building. We pay no rent, we pay no heat, we pay no electricity, we pay no phone bill. It's all covered. Okay.
I just wanted to follow up on how we as sort of people trying to devise the budget can follow the process to understand this stuff so that when it happens, it's not a hit upside the head.
Okay, let me answer that if I can. The budget committee here is made up of selectmen primarily. So we get the bills from the town, and like Tim said earlier, our budget is much smaller than the town budget. So we came in here in September and were hit with a 20% increase in the county budget. My taxes, Tom Wagner's taxes, went up this last year more than $1,100. I get some of the phone calls. What am I going to do? I can't pay my taxes. I don't have enough money. Then we have liens. So when you get a lien on a piece of property, not only do you not collect for that year, you don't collect for the next 3 years. School budget is up, snow plowing budget is up, road budget is up. So we've come in here having to cut any place that we could possibly cut because we can't pay anymore.
And we cut on everybody.
And we've cut on everybody. You should have seen the whole length of this. We've cut on little things, you know, $50, $100. And yeah, this is the place, I guess. I've been educated quite a lot in the last few days on Waldo County Soil and Conservation. I know some people who I trust, who I've known for decades, and reached out to them and spoke to them about it. That is a very hard organization to deal with, because a lot of the things that they've done are not reflected dollar-wise. I get that. Second point for me that they have that is a real benefit, stands up for them solidly, is they're volunteers. You don't get volunteers to come in and do something unless they really truly believe in it.
Passionate.
We spoke with the extension office and they took a hit. I'm sorry, everybody's taken a hit. You guys can come back next year, but you got to do better. And Waldo Soil and County Conservation, and the reason I called on Ron first, Ron used to work, for those of you who don't know, he was head of the NRCS down here. I've worked with the NRCS before. That's what I do. I've worked with the FSA. They run 2 people in an office that's supposed to have 4. Waldo County Soil and Conservation helps them out when they can. That doesn't get reflected anywhere in the budget book. So I've learned quite a lot about them that I didn't know before. But as far as the overall budget, I'm sorry, but it's going to be worse next year. Because as the expenses, I can tell you what's really happening here, and I'm over a minute, forgive me. What's happening is we're losing local people. They can't afford to live here anymore. Property values are good, we're gonna sell now. So they sell, and you know where they end up? They end up in public housing, a lot of them. Because they can't afford to buy new, they can't afford to buy something, they can't afford to buy a trailer and put it on a lot. And you know who moves in? Somebody from out of state who's just retired or who has big dollars. And they come in and they want more services. But our tax revenues aren't going up because of that. So we're still stuck in a declining economy right now. And like I'm telling you, it's going to get worse. There are no other comments. We've had our hour. We're going to move on.
Can I ask for time before we do? Can I ask for time?
Yep.
I agree with Tom. And you know, I hate to pick on Jason. I know he's in the back of the room, but I'm going to, even Jason, we had to ask him to go without an extra vehicle this year. And it's not an extra, they need it. It's not like we were in here picking on people. And there was a couple comments that were made at one meeting, and I'll refer back to it. I mean, we are a multi-million-dollar business here, but it's not very often that you get to go to the business and get to decide how much your cut is, if they are doing cuts. And every single department head came up and we had asked them, can you cut here? Can't you cut here? There was times where we couldn't agree amongst ourselves about cuts. There was times, believe it or not, we actually gave them more money in some of their lines because we felt that they were way under. And it's not very often that as an employee, which I was at one point, you can go and negotiate a raise or a cut. And, I am very sorry because I do know, and I will take 100% responsibility for that decision voting on the Waldo County soil and water. But I mean, we spent 2 hours and there was 2 separate votes from 2 separate people asking for fully funding, and they got shot down. And I had asked the chair 3 times if they could handle a different amount instead of being fully funded. And I take responsibility for this. When you get told it's all or nothing, I'm sorry, after I've spent 2 hours and we're all here, we're not getting paid. This is our time. Like, at some point it's okay, we need to move on. So I did call for that vote, and it was either to yes, fully fund them, or no, not fully fund them and move on. But it was not because we don't believe in them and we don't want them. I had asked, can you take this amount? No, we can't. Okay, well, that's 15,000. Can you handle 20,000? Nope, we need it all or nothing. I'm sorry, but we have to cut, we're cutting on everybody. And I take responsibility for making that motion. But I am happy that we're having more of a conversation about it. I'm happy that we can have more of a conversation about it. Hopefully we can vote on it again. I am willing to compromise, but I feel like that when you come up here and you're asking for money, you need to compromise too. Especially when you know, and we've been telling you, we're cutting on everybody. Everybody's getting cutted. So I'll leave it on that. But I do want to throw out there, I'm not against anybody. It was just, I tried to compromise. I'm sorry for calling that motion, but we did need to move on. And it was 2 hours of discussion.
Mr. Chair, you folks have to make a motion and vote to close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we close
I'm so
public
sorry,
hearing.
Tim,
Oh, sorry.
We never told you that we would take all or nothing. That never happened.
It was,
You asked us if we would take less. We were so stunned at the time that we were being even considered for a major cut like that. I didn't say a word. I was just still so stunned.
Thank
I
you.
never said we would take all or nothing. I want to correct the record here.
well, that may be
Tim.
your opinion, but we did ask multiple times.
You have
Tim.
to.
I make a motion that we close public hearing, that we move on.
Second that.
When motion has been made and seconded to close public hearing. Discussion? Oh,
Well, my only question would be, is there anyone else that feels that they haven't had a chance to speak about?
Oh, I thought you asked.
I did,
You did that.
Thanks.
you were asleep.
I'm not asleep.
Okay.
I'm just trying to.
In all
Any other
fairness,
discussion?
yeah,
All those in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you, sir.
All right. So now we'll move on and conduct our final budget committee meeting. No extra drafts in front of you? Corrected them.
Thank you all for coming.
I make a motion that we accept Department 1010 Emergency Management Agency. In the amount of $167,845 for 2024.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that we accept the amount of $167,845 for Department 1010 Emergency Management. Any discussion? No discussion. Call for vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries unanimously. 1015 District Attorney.
I make a motion that we approve the 2024 budget for Department 1015 at 280,000.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded that we
Who seconded?
accept Department 1015 District
Linda.
Attorney.
Thank you.
What?
I didn't know who seconded. I'm
Okay.
sorry, sir.
Of 280,000. Any discussion?
I still would just like to respectfully ask that we consider giving them back some of the arbitrary cut that we made to them. Because it still feels wrong to me that we kind of violated a trust, a multi-year trust, by arbitrarily reducing them after finding out from them where they could and couldn't cut from their budget. And we didn't want to fund the admin position that had come to the end of external ARPA funding just because we're looking for things to cut. But to me, that was a multi-year situation that the committee, as a committee, knew about. Some of us who are new to the committee didn't know about, but so I would hope that we consider throwing 15,000 back in there of the 18,000 that we just arbitrarily took out. Because they already had showed us that they didn't have other places in their budget that they could cut from.
If I may, if I remember from the prior budget committee, when they asked for, money to fund this person, they talked about a temporary need, and a need because of coming out of COVID, that there was a number of extra.
Right, that was going away.
That was supposed to go away, and then they want to keep that position.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time. Can I speak on that?
No, because we're past public
Okay.
hearing, we're in
I just want to
discussion.
clarify that.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
Any other discussion on it? No other discussion. Those in favor of keeping the budget of 280,000 for Department 1015 District Attorney, all those in favor? Opposed? Carries. 1020.
I make a motion that we approve Department 1020 for the total of $243,207 for the year 2024.
That's not the number. It looks like 243,500.
You have to look at the
You
correct.
have to look at your correct one.
Oh.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund Commissioners line 1020 to the amount of $243,507. Discussion.
207.
I got the wrong
You
one.
need to correct it.
Gotta use the correct one, Tom.
I thought Carrie took all those old ones away from you guys.
It's on the,
Oh.
it's the detail
Oh,
has
Oh,
the other number.
Robin, sorry.
That's okay. Tom made this, had the same.
Yep, in the amount of $243,207. Discussions? No, all those in favor? Opposed, carried unanimously. 1025 Finance Office.
No.
Not with resources.
No, that's
1021.
Oh, I'm sorry. Don't have my right glasses with me.
Do you want a ruler?
No, it won't help me.
I make a motion that we approve Department 1021 Human Resources for the amount of $115,029 for the year 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund 1021 Human Resource in the amount of $115,029. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
Vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carries unanimously. Line 1025.
I make a motion that we fund Department 1025 Finance Office at $79,080. And I know that's not the same amount that's here.
Ooh. Whoa,
2,000.
Trojan horse in it.
Yeah,
Okay.
may I ask why?
yeah.
We've got a motion made.
No, you cannot ask
Can't.
why.
Oh,
You cannot.
all right.
There's a motion.
There's a second.
I will second the motion for discussion.
Motion's been made and seconded that we finance 1025 finance for the amount of, I don't remember, 79,000.
$79,080.
Discussion.
Can I ask why?
Now you can.
Okay.
Okay. I've come to these budget meetings.
Sure.
Is our treasurer here?
Yeah, well, no, Owen is not here.
He is not.
No,
And so I haven't seen any activity from the treasurer working on the budget or coming to the budget meetings. And if we, now I know we can't make an adjustment to salaries, but if you had to figure out how to get that money, I would lower his salary to $1 a year.
Hey,
That's why I made that motion.
that is a good answer for why.
So
No,
your
I
cut,
don't understand that at all.
so your cut, sir, is 25,999.
Yeah, so what was the amount that you stated? 79,000 what?
$80.
No, that's 2,390.
Yeah, and 99.
Maybe you
It's
still,
the number
you still
that I
can't
come up
use that
with.
one. It's not the right one.
So
I'm not.
according to
Well,
statute,
this one hasn't changed. It's the same total number.
according to statute, we're we were supposed to have a treasurer.
Right.
And for years and years, folks, we had a gentleman named, David Parkman.
Right.
Incredibly active and well involved, and when he retired, the treasurer that we had, and forgive me, I don't recall his name, he was very nice.
Chip.
Yeah, he moved to Florida, and then we went years and we couldn't get a treasurer, if you will, as crazy as it sounds, and I believe Owen reached out to the governor's office, and was appointed by the governor as treasurer. But,
So is this a patronage job? Or does he do something?
Truth, come
Can I
on,
speak?
That's a fair question.
Can I speak?
yes,
Yes, he comes in every warrant and he reviews the warrant. He reviews and approves all the bills. Every warrant that we have, so the first and the third.
comes in for what? It's 1 hour.
Oh, 1 or 2 hours, depending on how many bills we have and how long it takes them.
I'll withdraw my motion.
it's already been made, second.
Oh,
Sorry if I made it seconded. I call for a vote on your motion.
okay.
Oh,
But can I speak again?
yeah, go ahead.
So I know you said 79.80. If you deduct what I currently have, it should be 78,880. If you want to deduct 2,599, 599. 2,599.
Okay, well, we've got the motion and the
Yeah.
second on
Yeah,
this.
there's also a call for a vote, so there is no more discussion.
Motion's been made and seconded before us to reduce Finance Department line 1025 to 7980. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion fails.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Okay,
I make a motion for Department 1025 that we have for the amount of $81,479 for the year 2024.
motion's been made and seconded that we fund Finance 1025 in the amount of $81,479. Discussion.
I appreciate where Palermo is coming from. Okay. I do, but I would like to call for a vote.
No further discussion. Motion has been made and seconded, and we're gonna call for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it so carries. Line 1030. Facilities.
I make a motion that we fund Department 1030 Facilities Management $306,442 for
Second.
2024.
I second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund facilities, line 1030, the amount of $306,442. Discussion.
Call for a
All
vote.
those in favor? All those opposed? Unanimous. Line 1035.
I make a motion that we approve Department 1035 for the amount of $223,484 for the year 2024.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded that we fund information technology, line 1035, the amount of $223,484. Discussions.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? All those opposed, and it is unanimous. Line 1065.
I make a motion that we I make a motion for Department 1065 for the amount of $249,902 for the year 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for the Registry of Deeds, line 1065, to fund them in the amount of $249,902. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Cool, unanimous. Line 1070.
I make a motion that we fund Department 1070 Probate Court for $322,849 for 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to find probate court, line 1070, the amount of $322,849. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimously passes. Sheriff's Department,
I'd like to make a motion that Department 1075 Sheriff, we approve 2024 budget at $2,498,999.
motion's been made and seconded to fund Sheriff's Department, line 1075 at $2,498,999. Discussion. No discussion. All those in favor? Unanimously passes. Com dispatch.
I make a motion that I make a motion for Department 1076 Community Com Center Dispatch for the amount of $1,232,318 for the year 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund com dispatch, line 1076, the amount of $1,232,318. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Advertising promotion.
I make a motion for Department 1080 Advertising and Promotion for the amount of $5,000 for the year 2024.
Motion's been made and seconded to find advertising and promotion, line 1080, in the amount of $5,000. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Audit.
Make a motion that we approve line 1090 audit for 2024 at $9,000.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund line 1090 audit department for $9,000. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Debt service is negative. Interest.
I make a motion for Department 2000 interest for the amount of $309,000 for the year 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund interest, line 2000, the amount of $309,000. Discussion. Gary, you've got to beat that down
I will do my best.
and we will come back to this line in the fall because I strongly suspect it's going to be lower than that.
I want your word that it's gonna go lower.
It's going to go lower.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to it.
Yes, you can.
I give you our word, we'll be back in the fall.
I'm just wondering, I thought we'd said that what we actually ended up paying this year was 165,000, but it only shows 16. Or no, for the current year expended, there's nothing.
There was a budget, the budget. Right?
No, you said
Oh.
the actual TAN interest.
Those have not been updated. Yes,
Okay.
so we paid $123,000 back in interest out of $265,000. That was not using a certain portion, paying it off as soon as I can. And so all of those savings helped us so that we only had to pay $123,000. I cannot guarantee that what I did this year will happen next year.
Well, I understand. I just noticed that there was 0 in the expended current year.
Yeah.
She hasn't updated.
That's not been updated.
But it was actually, as you said, 120.
It was $123,000 is what I ended up paying
I had a
back.
question on that note too, Carrie. Is that you pay interest on it as you use it, draw down on it, or is it you get the whole thing and you pay interest from the get-go on it?
When you use it is when you start paying interest.
Okay.
I'm gonna call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. University of Maine Extension.
I'm gonna make a motion for Department 2005 University of Maine Extension for the amount of $48,669.38 for the year 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund the University of Maine Extension line 2005 for $48,669.38. Discussion.
Can I make an amendment?
We have this.
Well,
Well, she can make a motion
I
to
can
make
make
an
a motion
amendment in discussion.
to amend. Yeah. Well, so I'd like to make a motion to amend the budget to be the same as what they expended this year, the level funding 58,050.
Motion's been made and seconded to amend that we fund them at the amount of last year, which I don't have written, $58,000.
And yeah, 58,050.
Okay, I'm sorry, $58,050
So now we're in discussion.
On the amendment.
Of the amendment.
I feel like, well, I'll speak to it since I made it. I think that they've amply explained the bang for the buck that they bring to the county. And that we're only shooting ourselves in the foot if we withhold money there. We're talking less than $10,000. Again, I know, Tom, as you mentioned, there are people who have trouble with their property taxes. And yes, in our towns, I mean, our snow removal is ridiculous as just one line item compared to last year. But I don't think that cutting an agency that's actually helping people can even be compared, for instance, to deferring replacement of a police cruiser. That's been brought up several times as, you know, but I don't think we are shorting the sheriff's department by deferring maintenance, you know, replacement of a cruiser. To me, that's apples and oranges compared to ending up cutting programs that are helping families and gardeners and small business people.
And can I add to that? And if I'm not mistaken, I believe a lot of the services that they provide are free to, is that correct? That's free to the people of Waldo County. So that's huge.
Any other discussion on the amendment? No other discussion on the amendment. I call,
Yeah, I call for a vote.
yeah. We're looking at funding, changing the original motion from 48,669.38 to 58,050 for the University of Maine Extension line 2050. All those in favor? All those opposed? And that fails.
So now we're back to discussion.
Yes, on the original motion.
So I've made the comment several times and I've instigated some people on it about being a business. I actually do agree with Robin about services and the best bang for the buck. So I would like to make a motion for the University of Maine Extension to increase them by 5,000, which will bring us to 53, 669, which does not give them the fully requested amount, but it is something. And that is in the form of compromise, because they do provide a very valuable service. I strongly disagree with you when you make the comment about police cruisers, because, and I don't want to speak for Jason in the back, but they provide a very serious service as well. And we've asked them to defer. We've asked everybody to defer, but I'm willing to compromise, which is the art of government. So that is my motion.
Second. So we've got a motion made and seconded that we change the funding of University of Maine Extension line 2005 to 53,669.38. Discussion. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously.
I'm still not going to give them a half a cruiser. I'm just saying that right now.
2025. Employee benefits.
I make a motion that for Department 225 employees benefit for the amount of $2,180,500 for the year 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to fund employee benefits, line 2025 to $2,180,500. Discussion. I don't have discussion, but I do have a comment for the commissioners. I've said this before, and I'm just saying it again, we can address lines of benefits and employee wages. But you gotta get a grip on this, because these are the most significant lines in the county budget. We can't have this kind of increase next year. Any other discussion?
Call for a vote.
Call for a vote. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Waldo County Soil and Water.
I make a motion that for Department 2035 Waldo County Soil and Water be for the amount of $15,000 for the year 2024. Which is what I originally asked them for, and they did say that they couldn't do it. But in the art of compromise, when one party wasn't able to, I still would like to see something.
See no second. Is there another motion?
I would like to make a motion to fund the water and soil, the Soil and Water Commission Committee to 25,000.
Motion has been made and seconded that we fund Waldo County Soil and Water, line 2035 at $25,000, and we are open for discussion.
I would like to say, number one, that they made reference to it, that because they show this small loss at the end of the year, doesn't mean that the numbers don't work. Anybody who's in business knows that eventually at some point you're going to show a loss. That doesn't mean you're ready to close down your doors. Number two, they also made a significant mention of the fact that they do cash accounting, which is totally different than accrual. And when you look at accrual accounting, they didn't make a loss. They pretty much broke even, or actually, I think they made money. So it had a profit. Another point is that this is the Soil and Water Committee, or Conservation. They're making significant contributions to the county that nobody sees as in your face. But if by cutting this, you're gonna do, I believe there'll be a lot of damage done. That is, over time, is gonna cost you far more money. Because sometimes it's not all about money. Sometimes it's about what is being done to prevent you from spending money. Say something happens, they're working so much on unity, and that's why I'm mentioning unity. They said about the septic. What happens if they cut them? Suddenly there's this big overflow in unity where all this waste is going in there. Who's gonna clean that up? That's gonna cost tons and tons of money. And it could have been prevented by keeping these people. So when you're looking at this, you have to look at a big picture. You can't look at, okay, we're gonna cut this money now. And the big picture of how much Waldo County spends and the millions of dollars, $25,000 isn't even on the radar as far as an amount goes. Because when you do an audit of a company or anybody, they don't look at whether or not there's a loss or gain. They look at what the material benefit is. And sometimes the benefit, if there's a material amount of money, $25,000 is not it, and it's not worth taking that chance and cutting this conservation committee out. So I strongly urge you to really think about what you're doing if you're going to vote on this. I just think the repercussion's could be bad if you do.
Can I respond? I do completely agree with you that when you do look at a profit and loss statement, there's a lot more to it than just the income and the expenses. And the impacts obviously are from the services that they're giving. And I do actually want to throw out a bunch of support for the volunteerism, because as Tom stated, if you have to be a real passionate volunteer to be doing what they're doing. they're in the ground, they're, you know, they're out, their boots on the ground. I just, I do agree with you, but I also do not agree with you. And that's because we've asked all of our other departments to give a little bit. We've asked it from everybody. And I asked it of them. And there was no compromise. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. I asked, there was no compromise. Instead, I got personally attacked by their chair. And that was for my own policies and my own town was the response. But I'm gonna leave it with that. I tried to compromise. We have asked everybody to make cuts.
Any other discussion?
Just to say that, in the bang for the buck department, one of the letters pointed out that they're giving over 3 times the return for our investment, in this small amount that we give them. And I still cannot believe that a $25,000 addition to this budget is going to make or break anybody's property taxes in any of our towns. I hear what Tim is saying. I don't remember him being personally attacked, but it certainly
Well, I do
seems.
when it got brought up about EDC in my town, and I had to tell him, no, we're not having that conversation right now. We're talking about county budget. I remember, and it's actually on recording. So it did actually happen.
I don't even know what EDC is.
I know you don't, and
So,
that's
okay.
part of
Okay,
my
moving
town.
on, moving on.
So
Okay.
Any other discussion? I have a comment. And again, this particular organization is very difficult to see what they do and how it reflects the dollars coming in. Ron DeRozier left the NRCS down here just recently. They have a new person in there. They're functioning with 2 people. I know that when somebody from Waldo County goes out and helps them, they can move things forward there. And last year, the budget was in excess of $400,000 for NRCS. Is that correct? For Waldo County?
Over $1 million.
Over $1 million.
1.2 million. That's the NRCS budget now we're talking about.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So if they facilitate that money being dispersed to agriculture to producers in the county, yeah. They also work, I'm understanding, with FSA on occasion, is that correct?
They're our right-hand partner.
Okay, FSA has more money that they bring in. And I would like to see them funded. I'd like to see them funded at what they originally asked for. But we've asked some of everybody, and I think 25,000 is certainly better than 0. They'll have to make some cuts, and if they can't live with those cuts, they could approach the commissioners to put it back, because they might be able to make an adjustment someplace else in the budget. Any other discussion? Aaron?
I said when we had our discussion last time that there were passionate people who stood before us, and that was so obvious. And we shook things up by our discussion that day. And it brought out the best in the organization in terms of their outreach to their partners and other passionate people in the organization or that interact with the organization. And it brought us more financial information. And if we had gotten even half of that information
Up front.
prior to our original deliberations, it would have been a different discussion. So there's a lesson here for everybody. You can only make a good decision based on the information that goes in.
That's right.
We can't make an informed decision with less than 100% information. It's unfortunate that there has been so many people upset and aggravated and pointing fingers when, if the information had been provided, there would have been a different outcome. might not have been the original ask, but there would have been a different situation. So I hope that everybody who's still in the room has learned a lesson that this is serious. The budget committee is taking this seriously, line by line. Many of us will be here next year, and that we need full information and transparency, especially financial numbers for more than a year going into our deliberations. And you were right earlier, it is not going to be easier next year.
And I really got to reiterate, and this statement was made more than once then, it's all or nothing. And that really shot him in the foot. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Carries unanimously at funding Waldo County Soil and Water Conservation District, the amount of $25,000, line 2035. Records and preservation was 0, reserves was 0.
Do we still have to vote on that?
Yeah.
You still,
I
Okay.
believe you do, Mr.
So
Chair.
I make a motion that, we fund reservation 2040 at 0 for 2024. I'll second that.
motion's been made and seconded that we fund records preservation, line 2040, amount of $0. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Line 2045.
I make a motion that Department 2045 for the amount of 0 for the year 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for line 2045 reserves that they be funded for $0. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Grant writing.
Make a motion for Department 2050 grant writing for the amount of nothing for the total of 2024. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund grant writing, line 2050, in the amount of $0. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
Chair, I'd like to go back to line 1090, I'm sorry, wrong line, 1095 debt service, that we fund that in the amount of $0 for
Right.
2024.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund debt service, line 1095, in the amount of $0. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Total county budget.
Jail? Don't we have to also go to the jail?
We
Oh,
don't-
sorry,
yeah.
we're not there.
Do we actually need a vote on that, Todd? Because
Yes, sir, you do.
that's just math. Okay.
Do we have any total?
So Carrie,
And then-
I came up with $8,303, $303,373.38.
Yes.
Want to make that motion?
Can we say the number one more time?
Yeah.
This $8,303,373.38.
Motion.
What do you have it wrong?
Even
I know, so it's the, didn't change the seven, it should be 723.38.
I thought that's what we did.
No, it's just 323.
So I came up with 8,303,723.38.
Yes. Yes.
Did I transfer?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the total county budget in the amount of $8,303,723.38.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund the total county budget in the amount of $8,303,723.38. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Jail budget.
I make a motion. How ironic. I never thought that this day would. I make a motion for the jail budget to be funded at $3,057,631.40 for the year 2024. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we fund the jail budget at the amount of $3,057,631.40. Discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Grand total.
Make the motion.
We need a corrected number on that.
It's
11 million.
Yeah.
Ready? 11,361,354
Yep.
78 cents.
77 cents.
No, 78.
78.
You read that.
I'll give you the penny.
Damn it.
I'd like to repeat the number one more time.
Yes.
11,361,354.78.
78 cents?
I have 77 and I'm sticking with it.
It's all right. That's one less paperclip.
We'll
And-
speak
and
to
what
an auditor
percentage
about
is
that.
Do you have the percent?
I,
8.84.
8.84.
yes.
Would you like to make the motion? You
Make
started.
a motion that we fund, what's the verb? I'm sorry. My brain's going well. That we fund $11,361,354.78 for the grand total for the Worcester County, Waldo County budget.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we have a grand total budget for Waldo County in the amount of $11,361,354.78.
We on discussion? Oh, baby. This has been rough on all of us. And I really do appreciate everybody that's at this table.
What's the increase?
I think we had a lot of this.
It's been rough,
This has been interesting.
so.
Next year will be far more interesting.
Next year, we're gonna bring chocolate.
Seeing there's no more discussion, I'd like to have a vote. All those in favor? Passes unanimously.
So wait a minute, before everybody gets warm and fuzzy and has cookies, we have to do a.
You're not saving that penny.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
Can I have that paper?
At this point in
I
time,
want to give you my favorite.
the budget committee and the commissioners have to vote to exceed the cap. Because at this time, we've exceeded our cap by, I think, 200,000.
Yes.
And this is the only time that the commissioners get to vote. Don't scowl at me. This is the only time that the commissioners get to interact.
What are you needing from us?
I'm not sure.
Motion to increase, right?
What?
Do you want me to take the floor to what they're increasing?
Do you have it
Yes,
now?
if you would.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So our tax cap was set at 6.2%.
Yep.
After figuring everything, all changes, our tax cap was 6.2. You've approved a budget. That percentage is 8.84%. You have cut 9.81% out of the budget. So that being said, I need a motion to increase our tax cap by 2.64%, so that we can move forward.
I make a motion that we increase our tax cap by 2.6% so we can move forward. 2.64% so we can move
The
forward.
pennies again.
Second.
Yeah, really.
Motion's been made and seconded that we increase the tax cap by 2.64%. Discussion.
I just have a question. And now how does this affect us going forward? So now our tax cap is at a higher percentage, our tax cap is what?
So our tax cap was 6.2, this brings it to 8.84. So moving forward to next year, our
Cap.
assessment will be at the budget
Approved amount.
approved amount.
Which will be
Yes.
8.84.
But you're going to do less.
Trying, sir, absolutely.
And
I've got some good ideas for you,
This
Tom.
year is going to be incredibly tumultuous. I still look to see a flat 0 increase this coming year.
I don't know if I could do that for you, but I do have some ideas that I'd like to talk to you about.
Yep. Motion's been made and
I'm
seconded.
gonna call for a vote.
We have to vote.
Yeah.
You have to vote.
We
you
all
all-
with you.
Oh, good.
All those in favor of increasing the tax cap to 2.64%? It is unanimous.
I could feel you burning inside of there.
Yeah, really. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an incredibly long process, and on behalf of myself and my commissioners, we greatly appreciate the service in which you've done. It's not easy, and I really hope, Tom, I'll say it, I've said it before, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think, and Mary, you said it very well. I think we've all got an education on some of these areas that unfortunately, that education needs to come long before it gets to this point.
Yeah.
And I hope that the lesson that comes out of this, because I can tell you as a commissioner, I've learned a lot that of opportunities or privileges or whatever that are granted to the taxpayers of Waldo County that I am not aware of. So I'm a little scratchy on that, a little disappointed there, and I can only hope that these particular groups will do a wicked good job. We have a website. I mean, for God's sakes,
Presentations,
guys,
everything.
you know,
Yeah.
jump on board or whatever, but I like you. I hope that I continue to learn and see how the taxpayers of Waldo County benefit from some of this, so.
As in a comment, I spoke with Harold Larrabee last night, who was the originator of Agaloma Farms.
Yes, sir.
And they had a very significant fire here just a few days on the last storm. So they moved 425 milking cows from there 30 miles away and continued to milk. And are fighting enormous, absolutely enormous circumstances. And yeah, it's a dairy who we're losing a lot of through the course of the years, but they employ 10 families and they reach out way beyond that in the area. And in speaking with Harold last night, I asked him, I said, so what do you know about Waldo County soil? And he was very adamant in his support for them. His daughter Cheryl, who runs the farm, was exactly the same way. And the quote was, they're the ones who are willing to come in and get their hands dirty.
Mhm.
So, and they're all volunteers, so my hat's off to you guys. But it's gonna be tough next year too. Guaranteed.
And historically, in the past, it was some other organizations that we had funded. Some of you remember years ago when we no longer fund them. And I think the biggest thing for us, because we are very conscious, we're taxpayers, is prove your value, your worth and need. Why do I need you? And I mean, it's brass, but it's true.
Right.
What do you do for the people of, and to just say, well, I do for 10 families. No, I need to see that. Like Mary said, I want to see this information.
And I would say the same thing to the extension office.
Yep.
You guys gotta sell yourself.
That's right.
I think, and I'm speaking all terms here. My biggest hiccup with both of those presentations was that when I was reading their material and I asked them questions, they couldn't tell me what I was at, they couldn't reiterate what they were doing. I have learned through business that presentation is everything. And even though we've done business with somebody for 80 years, I still expect you to come in here and give a stellar presentation and explain everything, because it's not just my dollars that I'm spending, it's people in other towns too. And that's how I look at it. When I go to make sales in my own business, I'm selling a product.
Sell yourself. Having arrived at this point, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we close this meeting.
Motion's been made and seconded that we shut down for the day. No discussion.
Call for a vote.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies from the office, they provided cookies and coffee and tea, please.
Well, we gotta cut that out of the budget next year.
They did that on their own.
Fine.
You already cut people in line. You're not getting any next year.
All by